Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our sixth webinar of the TAM R&D webinar series. And the topic of today's webinar is vRealize Suite Lifecycle Manager Architecture Overview and its capabilities. So vRealize Suite Lifecycle Manager actually does a lifecycle management of all the vRealize Suite components like VRA, VROBs, VRNI, vRealize Login Site. So since most of the TAM customers have vRealize Suite components deployed or they are planning to deploy it, so we were getting a lot of requests from the TAM customers to conduct a session on vRLCM. So today I also have Siddharth along with me. He'll be co-hosting this webinar. He's a TAM based out of Pune. And we have Chetan from vRLCM engineering team who will be presenting this session. So Chetan has been involved with the vRLCM since its inception. So he has a good insights on the on the product. So before we start, I just want to set some basic ground rules. So everybody would be placed on mute by default. So if you have any questions, you can put that in the Q&A window at the bottom. We will be monitoring the Q&A window. We'll also try and have a 10 minutes of Q&A in the end. So if you have some questions, maybe you can unmute yourself in the end and then ask question directly to the presenter, to Chetan. We are also recording this webinar, and we'll be sharing this recording with all the TAMs. So if you want to go through this recording again or want to send it across to your team members, reach out to your respective TAMs to get the recording. Yeah, so that is it. I think we are good to start. So now I would hand it over to Chetan to start the presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Nitin. Hello, everyone. Welcome again to the session on vRealize Suite Lifecycle Manager. Yeah, so I'll be presenting this, assuming that most of you are new to the vRealize Suite Lifecycle Manager with a perspective. So before diving into the live demo of the product, so I'd like to give a brief idea about what is vRealize Suite Lifecycle Manager and why do you think that you should include it in your products bouquet, right? Yeah. So many of you might be already using our VMware vRealize suite of products. Like you might be using vRealize Automation, VRA, or VROps for monitoring, or Log Insight for your log processing, and Warning for your network related insights. So the products comes with a lot of capability, but there is always a challenge in getting them ready for your use, installing them, or if you have a particular version of a product, then upgrading it to the newer version, right? So you always need to go through a lot of documentations for this while getting the things to be done as per the best practices of VMware. So here is where VMware's vRealize Suite Lifecycle Manager comes in handy. So what we provide is like the operations, like you can see here, that we manage the life cycle of all the vRealize suite of products: vRealize Automation, Business, Operations, Log Insight, and Warning. And apart from the vRealize Suite Lifecycle Manager, LCM, that is Lifecycle Manager, also now provides the full lifecycle operations of VIDM as well, the Identity Manager product. So for these products, so what are the operations supported? So we support the installation of the new products. If you want a new setup of any of these products, LCM will do it for you. Then we support the upgrade of the products. Like if you already have an instance and you want to move to the newer version of the products, that can be achieved via LCM. Then we have the complete certificate, license, and password management. So you already have your products installed from LCM or otherwise, and now you want to manage and suppose say replace a certificate or replace license or change passwords on your product, that's supported. And then we have the patching. So any new patches released on any of your products, LCM comes in handy, and you can use LCM to apply patches on your products. Then we have configuration and content management. So content management is a big story in itself, so it would need a dedicated session, but going forward, like I'll be giving a brief overview of content management as well, like what it does. And then there is health. So using vRealize Lifecycle Manager, that is the LCM. So you can also get the high level health overview of your environment and all the products in your environment. So LCM uses the vRops in any of your environment and piggybacks on the SDDC management pack inside vRops to get the health details and show it, so that LCM becomes a single pane of glass where not only you'll be installing your products, upgrading your products, but also will be able to get a high level overview of health of all your products and environment. So, and the next thing is a marketplace. So as you know, like all of our products, right? Like vRops, suppose to monitor any endpoint now, you would be needing any management packs. Like if you want to monitor AWS endpoint, you would be needing a AWS management pack to fetch the data from the endpoint and feed it to vRops. So outside of LCM, you would have to do a lot of stuff to get hold of these content packs and install on the products. But LCM again comes in handy here. We provide you again a single pane of glass where you find all of your contents listed on the LCM marketplace. You can download these contents from LCM and install these on your products using LCM. So these are the products that are supported by LCM and the operations, the main operations that we support. Okay, so moving on.
So Chetan, there was a
Yeah,
question on the Q&A window. What do you mean by unified patching? But I think Anuradha has already answered that. She's answered vRLCM provides a single interface experience to patch all the vRealize suite products. That is why we call it as unified patching.
yeah, I think that answers, but yeah, to bring in more clarity, I can demo it as well. And also like what unified patching means here, like as Anuradha already explained, like we provide like different products will have a different interface for patching, but you'd be confused like if you already have vRops, VRA, VRB, and different set of suite products, right? And but LCM would provide you a unified patching interface where you will just need to upload your patch and then hit on patch installation, and LCM takes care of actually taking the patch to the product and installing the patch on the product. So that's what LCM does now.
Okay, so there's one more question. How about NSX-V or NSX-T? I don't think so. vRealize suite covers NSX-V and NSX-T, right?
Yes, yeah. Currently, we are only covering the vRealize suite of products, the products mentioned here. And apart from these products, we also do the lifecycle management of VIDM, the workspace one, the identity manager from VMware. We provide the complete installation, upgrade, and lifecycle management for VIDM. So those are the set of products currently supported.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is what LCM does. So the next question is like, yeah, that's okay, but why? I can still survive doing it the old way of installing the products on my own or doing the upgrades on my own, right? So these are some of the numbers that will substantiate the use case for LCM. So for like a user trying to deploy, right, without LCM and with LCM, what we see is there is a 65% reduction in time to deploy. So that's where LCM really like makes your lives easy, right? It really reduces the time, the effort, and the time that will help you get going with the products. So that's the first point that's mentioned here: accelerate time to value. So it simplifies the product deployment and the upgrade process, and minimizes the ongoing management. That is, any day-to operations from there on can be managed from LCM. And third, and the most important, right, it enables the best practices, right? Like if you have to imagine doing installation or on your own, so you would not be aware about the best practices, the recommendations from VMware, like how and how many nodes it should have, or what should be the size of each node, or many such nuances associated with each product, right? But if you're doing the same installation using LCM, you can be rest assured that you are going as per the best practices and the recommendation by VMware, right? So that's automatically taken care when you do an installation from LCM. So that's a very key point for LCM here. Yeah, so moving on. So this is the main screen, the main dashboard of LCM. So once you install LCM and log into LCM, so this is what you see. So once I take you to the live demo now, so this will be the first page, and I'll start from there now. Yeah, so this was about the slide. I just wanted to introduce you to LCM, so what actually it does, and why is it needed, and now we come part of the next part, that is how it does that, right? So what and why is now covered, and we'll see the how part now in our live demo. Right, so I log into my Lifecycle Manager now, right? So as I was mentioning in the slides, right? So this is the home screen that we see. So in the dashboard here, we see currently 5 services, right? The lifecycle operations. So this is the service where most of our bulk of our operations happen, right? All the installations, the upgrades, the patchings, the all the other heavy duty things that are to be done for each products are handled in lifecycle operations. So we'll dive really deep into the lifecycle operation service. So before that, I'll just give a high level overview of these other services. Those are present here. So apart from the lifecycle operations, we have the supporting services such as the locker, user management, content management, and marketplace. So I'll start with locker. Yeah. So what exactly is a locker service? So once you go into the local service, so what you'll see here is you'll three segments, one for certificate, license, and password. So looking at it and seeing the name locker, you can pretty much guess like it's to do with all the high security things and the sensitive data, right? Like it might relate to the passwords of all the products, the licenses of the products, and certificates on the products. So these are sensitive data for each organization where you would like to keep it in an encrypted format. So what Locker provides you here is once if you want to create a password, that is by adding or add some licenses here or create a certificate from here, all of these things are stored in an encrypted format in your databases, and when anytime the data has to traverse over a network in any of the API calls or responses, it always goes in an encrypted format. So there is no chance that there is any sensitive information that is leaked outside of the network, right? So in the database, over the network, everywhere, the data is encrypted once you put any of these details in the locker service. So all of your passwords, so generally all the passwords, you will first add the passwords here and then use the passwords while deploying your products or while selecting any of the password for your products. Then there is a license a tab. So you can add any of your licenses that you already have. And we also have an integration with the MyVMware. So most of you might have a MyVMware account. So we have a place in our settings where you can go and register your MyVMware account. And what LCM does, it'll go and fetch all the licenses you have from your MyVMware account and list it down so that you, while installing any of the products, right, you can select any of these licenses for your installation. And the third thing is the certificate. So in LCM, we provide you a capability to generate a certificate. If you want, you can feed all the details and you can generate a certificate on your own. Or in most of the cases, like you would already have a CA signed certificate, so import that. So we provide an option to import the certificate, or you just want to generate a CSR, even that's possible here. So this is about the locker service, right? And what locker services provides to LCM. So I'll go back to the main page now. So next to the locker service, we now have user management. So you might be aware of the VIDM or the identity manager software provided by VMware. So LCM now, as I mentioned, like does the lifecycle operations for VIDM as well. So there was a request from the customers, like you are doing the installations of VIDM, but there are some basic things like I want to add a directory to my VIDM or other things, right? Let me just go into it. Like I want to add a directory, or I want to map some user definitions, right? So these are like the activities for which I do not want to leave the comfort of my LCM and go log into my VIDM instance and then do these things here. So what we provided them was capability. So some of the capabilities which are actually of VIDM, those can be achieved from LCM. So we do the exact same things that VIDM would do. We would utilize the VIDM APIs to achieve this. So this is what the user management services deals with here. So next is the content management, right? Yeah, so content management is a, like as I mentioned earlier, if you recollect, that it's a big story in itself, right? So what is content management? So content management, what it does is like, I will start with an example of VR ops, right? VR ops, suppose you have a lot of dashboards and alerts in your test system. Now we want the same set of all your contents, like your alerts and definition, moved to your production system. Now imagine that doing it manually, right? Like you have set up your test setup, and now I want a similar production setup, like setting up all of those alert definitions or designing those dashboards again. So this is just one use case. So like in VRA case, it might be a blueprint, or in vCenter, it might be a template. So many such use cases. So doing that all on your own is a pretty tedious job. So here is where the content management piece will come in handy. What it allows you to do is, like, it will help you capture these contents from one endpoint, like one instance of a product. Then you can go and publish it directly to another instance of the product. You can capture dashboard from one VROps and move it to another VROps instance. Or there is a possibility that you can get the capture the content from one product and put it in a source control like Git, and then keep it there. And once your production setup is ready, you can check it out from Git and then put it on your production systems. So yeah, so this is where content management comes in handy. So if you can see here, there is, you can add a content. I can say that I want to capture content from my VROps. I select capture, like I want to capture some content, and I select what VROps I want to select, what is the capture endpoint, and select whether I want to capture an alert or a dashboard or a report, right? So this is a very high level overview of what you can achieve with the content management in LCM. So moving on now. So the last service here before we move into lifecycle operations is the marketplace. So now I go into marketplace. So what marketplace provides you here is again a overview or a single pane of glass for all of your products contents, right? Like and we also have this cool filter, like if you want only the contents for vRealize operations. Now I select vRealize operations. We even provide filters for what technology or category you're looking for, and any particular publishers contents you're looking for, whether it's a Bitnami or a Blue Medera, right? You can select Blue Medera and we only show you the Blue Medera content packs. So all from the comfort of your LCM screens, right? So you need not go to any other marketplace or search it outside of LCM. So what we provide here is all these contents here, and you can download the contents from LCM marketplace. And once you download, it will become available for you. Suppose like here I downloaded VMware content for VR ops. So what I can even now do is I go here and I can install this content, select my data center and my VR ops where I want to install this content on, and then proceed with the installation. So once I click install, this content will be installed on VR ops. So all of the installation of the content packs as well can be done from LCM. Right. So that was a high level overview of the other services that we have: the locker service, the user management service, the content management service, and the marketplace, right? So now we'll dig into the lifecycle operation service. So once you go inside the lifecycle operations, right, like as I was mentioning that this is the home screen, and this is where the bulk of the operations like installations, patches, upgrading, and all those things happen. So this is the home screen that you see once you go inside the lifecycle operations. So we have different options here to create environment, to manage your environments or to manage your data centers and vCenters, and to view of any of the requests that you already submitted. Then we have the map here, and the map provides you with cool features that I have just one data center here, so I can click on this and see like where is my data center and what all it has. Now I can click on this data center and I can see that I have these many environments. Now I can click on each of this environment and see like what product it has. Then I can click on the product and see like how many nodes are present in this product. Or if I want like still more details, like what are the details regarding to this master node of vRops in this data center, I click here. It will take me to the details page where it will show me all the details of this product. Now here I can see this master node, like what are the details, what is the VM name, what is the IP address, the host name, the infrastructure details, right? Like what is the data store and the vCenter it is upon, the network details. So all of these details I can view from my map. So it makes my traversing very easy. Like the map provides you an overview of all your data center and products from a single place. So before you get anything on your map, so first thing you will do is configure a data center. So the things you do is like you go to the data center tab here, then you add a data center. So like I already added one data center here called the Bangalore data center. And then once you create a data center, you add the vCenters, right? So currently I added 3 vCenters to my data center. So once you created your data center by adding vCenters to it, you have a data center ready on which you can deploy the products. And also you'll be able to find those data centers on your map now. So next we'll start with like, yeah, I have set up my data center now. Like how do I proceed further? I want to deploy a few products, right? What I want to do now is I want to deploy a vRealize automation or a vRealize operations manager, vRops, right? So for that, we'll start with something called as create environment. So this is where you will create an environment. Right, so this is the create environment screen. So we'll provide the name of the environment, the administrator email, and then you'll select the password and select the data center you have created. And then you hit on next. So I have a pre-filled request. So in the interest of time, right, I'll start from the first page. So here, I want to create a new environment now. So I given a name for that environment. I provide the details like the administrator email and the passwords. So if you recollect, I was showing you the locker service where we generate the passwords by keying the details. So you'll be able to select those passwords here. The passwords you create in the locker service will be made available here and you can select it from there. Then you select the data center, and once you provide the details, you move to the next page. Right. So here is the page where you can select like what are the products you want to install now, right? So as you can see that we have all the vRealize suite products available here. So you can select what all products you want. Now here I've selected VRA and vRops. If you want, you can select any of the products that you want for installation, like LI or Network Insight or Business for Cloud. So for the demo purpose, now I have chosen VRA and vRops. So now I say select the new install, right? As you can see in the installation type, there are two options provided here. One is a new install and the second is an import. So there will be a question now like, what are these two options, right? So new install, like as most of you can understand now, like it's a creation of a new instance. Like I don't have a VRA or a vRops now. I want to start deploying a new setup altogether, right? So that is a new install case. That's a straightforward case. And next is the import case. So what is import? So Imagine you already have a VRA or a VROps, right? If you have a VROps already in version 7.5, now what you want to do is upgrade to the new version 8.0 or 8.0.1 to be specific, and you want to utilize LCM for doing it. So what you do in that case is you select the import option and hit next button, and then you'll be asked the master node address and the details of the vCenter it resides in, and LCM will take care of pulling in all the details of the vRealize operations from the entered details, and then provide an options to upgrade or patch or replace certificate or do any kind of data operations on that product, right? So this is a use case, a brownfield use case, wherein you already have a product and you want to start managing it from LCM. So that's the import use case. So now I'll continue with the install. Like suppose now I want to install a VRA 7.6, right, and a VROps 8.1. So you can also see that there is something called as deployment type for each products. Like here for vRops, I can select what is the node size and the number of nodes, right? For extra small, if you see, I can select only one. If I select a small, then I can select two. For medium, if I select, then I see that I can have up to 8 nodes, right? So all of these things, right, are coming from the best practices from VMware and each of the individual products. So LCM has closely worked with each of the products, each of the vRealize suite products, to understand what are the recommended best practices, and we follow as per that. Like if you do it on your own now, you'd not be doing that. If I have a medium sized nodes, how many nodes should I have? So you'll have to look into document and then ensure that you're doing it right. But if you're doing it from LCM, you know that if you're selecting a medium deployment, you can have only up to 8 nodes, right? Or if you're doing a small setup, you can have only 2 nodes at the max as per the best recommendation of vRops. So these are already taken care when you do an installation via LCM. So for now, I'll just choose a extra small and one. And you, for vRops, you will get an option to enable HA. So once you select the products you want to do install, and whether it's a new install or import, so then we proceed with the next page. So here, this is a end user license agreement page. So you select the conditions, then hit next. This is the license page. So, so you see, you can select the licenses here. If you recollect, I was mentioning that if you already have a MyVMware account and you provide those details to LCM, LCM will fetch all your license details from VMware account. So once those details are fetched, you will be able to select those licenses in LCM, and so that you can use those licenses for deployment. And then there is a validate association option, so that LCM will validate whether the license you selected are applicable for the version of the products that you are now trying to install. So once you do that, you go to the next page, you select the certificate, and you select the certificate. Certificate again comes from the locker service that I showed earlier. I had created a certificate, test certificate. Now I'm using that certificate for my installation. So once I select the certificate, I move on to the next page, that is the infrastructure page. So if you recollect, we added a data center and added few vCenters to the data center, right? So you select the vCenter now where you want to deploy your products. So LCM automatically, once you set up a data center and add vCenters, LCM will fetch all the details from this vCenter, like how many clusters it has, what are the disks it has, what are the network it has. So and it will display it for you. So you can select the data centers or the network and other details from here, all the infrastructure related details. We even provide like the granular selection of what folder you want your products to be deployed on, or any particular resource pool that you want your products to be deployed on. So even that granularity is provided by LCM. And here if you see, there is an option to integrate with the identity manager. So LCM has a concept of global environment. So before starting with the deployment of any of these products, right, you would have already deployed a VIDM. So once we go through all the screens, I'll even show you the global environment. So if you already have a VIDM now, you get an option to integrate your products with the VIDM. So it might be for your single sign-on reasons or any of your user mappings, right? So you can integrate to VIDM with your products to do that. So once you select all of your infra values, then you go to the next page to provide the network details. So you provide the gateway, the net mask, domain, and the search path. Then you can provide your DNS. So you can add a DNS server here, and once added, you can go and edit selection like what all the DNS you want to select and use for your deployment. And yeah, if any NTP servers, then you can use the time sync mode and provide the NTP server here. Or if you want to continue with the host name, the ESXi host name, right? You can proceed with that. So now after doing that, we proceed to the next page. Yeah, so this is an important page here where you'll actually provide the product details, right? So in my environment, I had selected two products so that I wanted to install VRA and VROps. So I'm getting both of these products here, and here it shows me the certificate that I've chosen here. And if I want any different certificate for VRA now, it provides me an option to override here, right? Then VRA 7.6, it requires a Windows machine. So you need to key in the details for the Windows machine, the Windows usernames and the password. And cluster VIPs, the load balancers, if any, you need to key in those. And LCM also allows you to configure Windows box if required. And once you provide these details, you need to key in the host names for each of your components, like for server primary and all the other nodes, right? Like the database node, the IaaS web node, the manager active, the dem workers, and the proxy agents. So you provide all the details. That's the VM name, FQDN, IP address for all of these nodes. And similar thing for VROps, like I had selected a single node. So you'll just have a master node. So it shows you the node type here, right? The master node. You provide the VM name, the host name, and the IP address for that. And if you wish to add any additional nodes, like suppose you feel the need now that I already have a master node, but I now want it as a HA. So I'd like to add a replica node. So that's possible. You just go here, add a replica node. You'll be shown with a replica node. And then you, once you get a replica node here, you key in the details like the host name if you want and the IP address for that, right? So those details you provide and you'll be able to deploy a two node VROps with LCM. So for now, I'll just proceed with a single node that I had earlier. So once you provide the product details, then you can proceed to the next page. So this is again an important step. So LCM has a concept of a pre-check, right? It's a pre-validation. So as you can see that over a lot of these tabs like the license, certificate, infrastructure, network, and products, right? You keyed in a lot of details. You keyed in different vCenter information, the network information, the infrastructure information. So what if any of the things that you entered was not right? So what would happen is you start with an installation and you get stuck at some point because of some problem in the IP address, or because a DNS entry is missing and your host name is not able to correspond to the IP address, right? So the LCM has a concept called as pre-validation. So what we do is like you can run the pre-check, and what LCM does it will do a set of validation on all the inputs that you have provided until now. If you can show you like it will check the different, if the schema of the provided data is proper, if the certificate is valid, right, and all the infrastructure validations. It will check the credentials are right for the vCenter you provided, or there is a cluster you selected, whether it's actually present in the vCenter or not, whether it has the required permissions, the firewall status, the data store status, the accessibility of the data store, and some product specific validations. Like for vRops, we do a set of validations again to check if the IP is reachable and if the node names are valid, right? And all those checks. And for VRA again, so there are infra validations, there are data validations, and there are product specific validations that we do. So we do all of these validations to ensure that so once you submit this data for installations, that most of the things are already taken care of, and there is very little chance that your installation or your request might actually fail. So it provides you a very high possibility of your installation succeeding in a single go. So this is a very important feature that's provided by LCM, right? So once all of your pre-checks are done and you see that it's green, all the pre-checks are passed, right? So if any of the pre-checks fail, then what you need to do is take care of those. If it's a wrong IP address, you go back to the products and again change those details in the products. Like if my VROps IP was wrong, change the IP address here, then hit next, come back to the pre-check page, execute, rerun the pre-check here, and ensure that everything is passing, right? So once all of your pre-checks passed and it succeeded, it'll give you a lot of confidence to proceed further, and you hit next. So before you actually submit, we'll provide you with a detailed summary page, like these are all the details of the uh, products configuration that you have selected. So you can just have one final look regarding these details. And once you feel that everything is correct, the details that you provided and your pre-check is passed, and in the summary everything looks fine, you can go and hit the submit button, right? So what it does is it will create a request for now installing your products. So I'll take you to one of the any of the request page. So there is also an option called save and exit here. So you can save and exit if you're not actually submitted. Then go back to the manage environments, right? Then you can see that there are 3 tabs here again. It's completed, like these are the environments that are already completed, installed or imported. Then there is a in progress, like the current request, right? We have not yet submitted, so that will be in progress, or any of the failed requests that will be shown here. So currently we do not have any failed, we have one in progress. So I can click on resume here. It will directly take me to the tab that I was currently in, right? So you can proceed. Like suppose you are in infra, you are entering some details, you get stuck in some other work, you go save and exit, and then you can go back to the uh, lifecycle manager operations, go to manage environments, come to the in progress tab, and then resume it. From there it will take you back, right? So actually doing after doing all of those, once you submit, a request will be submitted. So you can come to the request page here. So you can see a lot of requests here. So in the request, right, it'll be like a graph of all the steps, individual. You can see like what are the individual steps that we are doing. So once the request completes, the request that you submitted, like this case, it is like a VIDM directory list. So in our case, it would be a environment creation. So it have different steps for environment creations. And if any of the steps fail, suppose it failed at step 3, we have something called as a retry option, so that you can go and retry the request from that particular step and proceed further. So that was about like how would you how would you create a environment, how would you deploy a environment. So it would be so easy, like if you want to get a new instance of VRA or VROps or any of the suite products, right? You just need to do this, and you'd be able to create the environment. So now in my completed environments, right, I have a couple of already imported environments here. So as you can see, so since we discussed now about how to create an environment, right, we would like to show you some of the day two operation kind of things, like I have an environment now, whether it's an installed or an imported greenfield or a brownfield case. Now what I want to do is like I want to upgrade my product, or I want to patch my product, or do some certificate replacement or something like that, right? So here you can see that there are four different environments. So this is the global environment that I was mentioning, right? So before you start with the deployment of any of the suite products, you first have to deploy a global environment. So the global environment will be your VMware Identity Manager, right? So I'll just do a view details on this one just to show. So this one has a primary and a connector. So if you are aware of VIDM, like there is a connector component as well, a Windows connector and an embedded connector. So currently we support the installation of VIDM as well as the Windows connector. So this will be a static name, like a global environment that will be created every time. This will be the first environment that will be created once you start using Lifecycle Manager. Right. So there is another point regarding the health. I was mentioning, if you recall, that LCM provides you health on a single pane, right? So what LCM does is it's piggybacking on the VR Ops and the STDC management pack to provide you health for all the products in the environment. So suppose you have a product in this environment, you can see that there is a VRA, right? There is no VR Ops in this environment. So it gives a message saying that if you want to find the health of your environment, you have to install a vRealize operations to monitor health, right? So in the second environment, I actually have a VR Ops, but I have not installed any STDC management pack. So I'm getting a message saying that install STDC health solution to find the health. So in this third one, you can see that it's already giving me the health of this product, right? Because I have a VR Ops here and also have their STDC management pack configured on it. So it's saying green, that means that the health of the environment is fine. And if you see that there is an arrow mark here to view more details, what it does is if I click on here, what it does is it will directly take me to the VR Ops page, right? And I can get a overview of the health of the products that we are monitoring here. So it will take me to the STD cell. So this is our source of truth, where we are figuring out whether the environment of the health is green or red, that it's good or bad. So we'll directly take you there to, like, suppose if it was red, right? And you would want to know, like, why is it red? Why is it something failing? So you can click on this button. We'll directly link you to the VR Ops, and you can check by clicking on the details, like if there was any alerts or any other details that we need to take care of, right? So this is about the environment health. Okay, so coming back to this, suppose now I have a VRA, right? I have a VRA, it's showing me a version as VRA 7.5. And I have this environment now, it has a VRA product. What I want to do now is upgrade this VRA from 7.5 to 7.6. So here you can see that I have an option to upgrade. So what I do is I click on upgrade. So it's giving me a notice here saying that perform inventory sync. So you can see here there is an option called as inventory sync, right? So what this does is, like once you install or import a product into LCM would have captured the details regarding your product. But anything that's changed on the product that LCM is not aware of, it might have happened that you might have added another node to the product, right? And you have not done it via LCM. You might have done it outside. So LCM is not aware of that. But now you would want to perform some data kind of operations on it. But LCM needs to know what's your current state. So what you do is you trigger a inventory sync. So you click on this inventory sync button. What it does is it will connect your product, and it will fetch all the latest information and details regarding that product and update it in the LCM inventory. So that's the notice that you are getting here. So once you say that my product details are up to date and proceed to upgrade, you are taken to the upgrade screen. right? And then you get an option to select if you want to take a snapshot of the machine during upgrade. And then you get the repository type selection. If you already mapped your binaries in LCM, right, you get an option to select Suite Lifecycle repository and select the version that you want to upgrade to. Or if you want to depend on the VMware repository, you can select that. Or if you have a repository of your own and you want to provide a URL for that, you are free to do that, and you can provide the upgrade URL where you have the binaries for upgrade. So let's proceed with the most used use case, right? Like you have mapped the binaries in LCM now. So we'll just select the version and it'll have the mapping in LCM already. So there is an option to view compatibility matrix. So what it does is like it'll give you a picture. Like suppose in this environment now, apart from VRA, there was also a VR ops or VRLI, right? So after I upgrade to 7.6 from a 7.5, will my VRA be still compatible with the other products? Right? Like VROps was suppose monitoring your VRA, or VRA was using VROps for its workload placement. So it will confirm whether those connections would still be working fine, and VRA and VROps or with any other products, it will still be compatible. So once you check that, what you do is you go to next, and again there is a pre-check. So as mentioning about the pre-check during the install, right? So as I mentioned during the install, like there the pre-check was to check about your inputs. Like there was a sequence of inputs that you provided, and you wanted to verify whether all the inputs that you provided was correct before actually proceeding with the installation. But in upgrade case, you already have a live system in a particular version. What you want to do now is verify whether the product now is in a state, whether it's in a healthy state where it can be upgraded from the older version to the newer version. It might so happen that you do not do an upgrade pre-check and directly proceed with the upgrade, right? So you might land up into some issues, and later be pointed to some documentation which states that you should have taken care of certain step before upgrade, right? So LCM will come in handy in such cases. Like we will provide an option to run the pre-checks. So we'll check the status of the product currently in the current version. How is the health status of this product, or whether it has adequate processors uh, on your product, on your VMs for upgrading, whether it has adequate memory, adequate space is available or not. And we can see that there is actually one failure. It is stating that there is a reboot pending on one of the machines, right? So if there is anything like that which can potentially cause a failure during your upgrade, even those will be pointed out. So it can be like it gives you better confidence, and it will ensure that there is higher probability that your upgrades will go through if you ensure to run pre-checks and take care of all the errors it is pointing out. So in this case, you can see that almost there are some 46 checks that LCM did, and there was one failure, but most of them passed. So once you take care of all the pre-checks, you'll be able to, you can just proceed, and you will get a summary again, like what is the version you will be upgrading to, what is the repository type and the URL that you have selected, and whether you had opted for taking the snapshot. So once you do that, you will submit again, and this will trigger a request for upgrading your product. So that's how we would upgrade a product from LCM. Right. So we have other data operations. So there is, you can view the compatibility matrix, you can change the passwords of your products from LCM, and you can delete the product. So delete again is a two-step process. It might happen that you might just want to delete the product from LCM inventory and not actually delete the VMs and still continue to use this product. So we'll give an option whether you want to delete it from LCM inventory or delete the associated VMs from vCenter, right? So you can delete your products from LCM or from the vCenter using this option. Then we have snapshot feature. You can select the snapshot and you can create snapshot. So you can imagine like you have around 6 node VROps cluster. Okay, so taking snapshot individually, like going to each nodes, finding out the nodes in the vCenter, that would be tedious job again. So what you do in LCM is just go and say like create snapshot here. This will ensure like these are the different nodes present in uh, your product. In this case VRA. So LCM will ensure like it will go to the individual nodes and takes the snapshot of those nodes, right? So then we have patches. Like suppose you want to, there was a new patch released for VRA, right? And another cool feature in LCM is like you'll start getting notification of any new patches or upgrade LCM upgrade released for LCM or for any of the products that you are managing by LCM. So here you can see that already have a couple of uh, upgrade notification available since I was in 7.5, right? Here I'm getting a notification saying that 7.6 is available, and if I want to upgrade, right? Similar for VR apps, I'm getting a notification. Then I'm getting a notification from for my LCM itself saying that there's a patch 1 available for my LCM. Right? So there is a notification feature which will let you know for any new updates, patches, and upgrades. Those are available for LCM as well as the managed products. Right. So this is the notification page. So I'll go back to the data operations again. Right. So patches, you can select the patches and say I want to install a patch uh, on this product, right? Then once if you had mapped the patches in your patch binaries, you will have to select the patch that you want to apply on. Suppose there was a HF2 patch that was released for VRA. You select that, then you check the details of that patch, whether this is a patch you want to apply the apply, and then you click on install. So once you do that, there will be again a request created to install this patch on your product. Right. Then you have an option to export the configuration and collect the logs. So export the configuration is like you already have installed a product. Now what you want to do is like you want to export all this configuration. So there are two options, simple or advanced. So suppose if I select simple, so what happens is you will be able to sorry. So you'll be able to capture all of the configuration into a JSON file, right? So you'll get a JSON file regarding all the infrastructure properties, other product properties that you might entered. So if you want to deploy another similar product or a different instance of this product, you can utilize this configuration. So if you recollect now, during the creation of environment, right, you have an option to select a JSON configuration file as well, right? So if you turn this on, LCM asks you to provide the JSON configuration. So what you can do in such use cases that if you want a similar environment with just a different IP sets, right? But I want a similar structure, you could just capture the environment details by exporting the configuration and then put it here and hit next to deploy another instance of a similar pattern with the just different IP sets or a different host name, right? So that's another options that LCM is providing. So there are other operations as well, like the replace certificate, add components, and add licenses. So a couple of them are like you see that they're in a disabled state because it's an imported environment. So we would not have the details regarding that. So once I trigger an inventory sync on that, even those will become available for you to do, like add components, like you'll be able to add new nodes to the product, or if you want to replace the certificate in the product, or if you want to add a license to the product, those operations are also supported from LCM. Yeah. So here you can see that if you want to replace the certificate, right? So I can click on replace certificate. It will show me the details of the current certificate. LCM will connect to the product and show you the details of the current certificate, and you can select the certificate that you want to change now. Once you select the certificate, we will show you the details of the currently selected certificate, and you can hit next. There is again a pre-check page. You will run the pre-check, and once the pre-check completes and it tells you that the product looks to be in a state where you can replace the certificate now, you can proceed and hit finish to complete the process. And you can add license if required. You can add a license here. This is the current license that is applied to this product. You can go next and you can select the license that you want to apply now to this product. And once you select that, you will be shown with the license detail. You can hit finish to apply this license on the product. And last but not the least, the add components, right? Like I already have master, data, replica, and remote collector. You can see all the different types here. Suppose if I feel the need for adding another data node, what I can do is I can add another component. I'll select the details for the component, like where I want the component to be installed. Provide the details, and finally it's the same flow. Then you proceed with the components, pre-check and summary, and finally submit it. So this is a scale out flow where you'll be able to add additional nodes to your product. So Nitin, I think we are done with the high level overview of most of the features, or if there are any pressing questions that we would like to address now, or any doubts.
Okay. So we got some 22 questions, but almost all the questions have been answered by Anuradha. So thank you,
Okay.
Anuradha, for answering all the questions. So we have one open question: how to take backup of LCM? Can we take as any other VM? Do we take a snapshot-based backup, or how do we do it?
Yes, absolutely. We can take a snapshot of LCM, so that will ensure that we have a backup like any other product. Yeah.
Chetan, there was one question earlier on, which I said we'll
Okay.
provide a demo later. That is about
Okay.
the product binary mapping.
Okay.
They
Okay.
they wanted to know if what are the different ways in which we could give the
Okay.
OVA references.
Right. Yes. Sure, Anuradha. Yeah. So there is a settings page here. You can see in LCM, right? So once you go to the settings page, here in the account section, you can find something called as a binary mapping. So you can go to the binary mapping here, and you can add the binaries. So all your product binaries and the batch binaries can be added here. So coming to the product binaries first, right? If I want to add binaries now, I'll click on this add binaries. I have options like suppose you have copied some binaries on your local LCM machine, right? You can directly provide the base location where it is provided, and then discover. LCM will automatically discover all the binaries from that location from your disk. Or if you have a NFS location where you have suppose all of your suppose in this case I have my NFS location here. I put my NFS location. I said discover, right? What it does is LCM will automatically discover all the binaries that were present in that NFS location. You can select that. Yeah, I want to install Prelude now. So I'll select Prelude and say add. So once you do that, your mappings will be created in LCM. So you can use these binaries now during upgrades or install by selecting from the LCM repository. So there are other options as well. If you want to link it from MyVMware, if you have a MyVMware account, you can do that. Or if it's from a Windows ISO, right? For VRA older versions, we would have required it. You can provide the base location for that, and then you can select the corresponding ISO. So these are the different ways you can map your product binaries in LCM. And for patches as well, we have option to upload a patch. Like suppose you have downloaded a patch now, right? You want to upload it from your machine. You can select a file and add that patch binary. Or if you want to check the patches online, right? Uh, LCM will go and fetch all the details from the online VMware repository, and then you have an option to download it, right? I see like there is a patch released for LCM itself here now. A patch 1 is released, right? If you want to download this patch and map this binary in my LCM, I can directly go here in the actions. I select on this, and a new request will be created here to download this patch. You can even go to the request page and monitor the status here. So I hope this answers like how we would do binary mapping in LCM.
Yes, Chetan, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So Anuradha, we also have one question. Do we have any order to take LCM backup, like after any component of vRealize suite? Okay.
Yeah, I just answered that. There is no dependency. It's a single VM and we can take the backup. It is not dependent on any of the products that LCM is managing.
Okay. So it is always standalone, or can we create a cluster if we have added a lot of vRealize suite components to VRLCM?
Currently, clustering is not supported, but it is on the roadmap.
Okay. Yeah. So we got a lot of feedback. Some of the feedback is already there in the roadmap, but some for the ones which are not there, do we also plan to share that with the PM team, if in case it makes sense to have this in the
Yes, there
subsequent?
were two specific requirements that I made note of. One is on comparison with the best practices, and the second is about providing compatibility with ESX and VC versions that are on which the products have been installed at the time of upgrade.
Correct.
So these two, I will be raising feature requests and bubbling it up to the product management.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there are others. These two I have definitely made
Sure.
note of.
Okay. And if you guys have time, can we open for Q&A so that we can unmute all, and if they have specific questions, they can directly ask you. Are you guys?
Sure, we could do that.
Okay. 1 second. Let me just unmute everyone. So I have unmuted everyone. If you have any specific question that you want to ask directly to the presenter and to Anuradha, she's the engineering manager from the LCM team. So you can directly ask your questions by unmuting yourself. Looks like Mitesh has a question. Can we take config backup of vRealize components like PRA, VROMs, etc. from LCM?
Yeah, I was just typing that. Configuration backup is not is partially supported for Network Insight, but for these products, for the other products, snapshot is the way to go. There is no way to take a separate configuration backup using LCM.
Okay. Any other question? If you have any question, unmute yourself and ask directly. Okay, so looks like there isn't any question now. So thank you very much, Chetan. Thank you, Anuradha, for doing this session. This was pretty wonderful session. A lot of questions. This is very interactive. I mean, we haven't seen these many questions in our previous webinars. So hope we take the feedback that we get from the customers. Okay, so it looks like Bennett has a question. Yeah, Bennett, you can unmute yourself if you want to ask question directly, or you can also put that in the Q&A window. Bennett. He's not able to unmute.
Yeah, maybe you could type it out then, Bennett. We can answer it on the Q&A window.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Okay. See, this backup mechanism that we have for the LCM, if we take a snapshot and for some reason, like maybe a patch failure or something happened with the upgrade, like we are reverting back with the snapshot. Before, prior to this LCM upgrade, like we did some patching to the VROps, I mean like vRealize automation or orchestra. What will happen to those the patches that we applied for them?
That will not be impacted at all, Bennett. The product patching is done on the product VMs, and it's independent of LCM snapshot or LCM state itself.
Okay.
Unless, for example, see a product patching was in progress when the LCM VM crashed or something of that kind happened. We've not seen anything like that. But if it's in progress, then maybe, yeah, you would have had to take the product snapshots prior to patching. But LCM snapshot upgrade will not impact any patch levels of the product.
Okay. So once it just pushes the update and have an inventory on it, but not the but doesn't do any kind of management things.
Yes, absolutely. So there was one more question. LCM is compatible to all versions of VRA. There are two aspects to it. One is which versions can we install. Usually it will be the latest two versions, that is as published in the compatibility or the product support metrics. For brownfield imports, we support all versions. I will share the product documentation link for the 8.0 version, which talks about this.
Okay, so we are good. So Anuradha, I also remember there was one more question. Can we upgrade from VRA 7.6 to VRA 8.0 using LCM? Though VRA 7.6 to 8.0 is a migration. But
Yes, it is a migration, and VRA itself has not supported migration as of the 8.0.1 version.
okay.
So as and when VRA is LCM will also begin to support it.
Okay, got it.
There is one question from Mitesh. I'm not able to understand the question. So maybe Mitesh, would you want to explain it? If upgrades are not in line, then how will it be taken care of LCM? Is it in the context of the VRA migration?
Mitesh, you can unmute yourself if you want to ask a question or maybe elaborate your question a bit. Yes, like migration. So if there's no in-place upgrade and if it's a migration, then would LCM take care of that migration or it just supports in-place upgrade?
LCM is expected to take care of the migration as well, but since that is not yet available, it may not be appropriate to comment on it.
Okay. So I think we are good now. Yeah. Thanks once again, Chetan and Radha, for doing this session for all the TAM customers. Thank you all for attending the session. Reach out to your respective TAMs to get the recording as well. Thank you all.
Sure. And thanks, Nitin, for this opportunity. I hope it was a useful session. We definitely enjoyed presenting it and much appreciate the interaction we had on the session.
Right. It was pretty useful. Yeah. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Chetan. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.